Have you ever watched a guy at the gym who spends 20 minutes adjusting his tank top, hunting for the perfect overhead lighting, and flexing until his veins pop, all for a 5-second social media story? He is exhausted, dehydrated, and desperately waiting for the validation of a digital heartbeat. Now, look in the corner. There is someone in a faded, oversized hoodie. They don't look at the mirrors. They don't hold a phone. They just lift heavy, put the weights down, and leave. Day after day. No audience. No applause. Just pure, undeniable, quiet results. Here is the brutal, unspoken truth about your finances. You are probably the guy posing in the mirror, and it is quietly destroying your future. We have been brainwashed into believing that wealth is a performance. But real wealth, the kind that lets you sleep flawlessly through a recession, the kind that buys your ultimate freedom, is exactly like the guy in the hoodie. It is invisible. The moment you drag your money into the spotlight, you are no longer its master, you become its hostage. Publicizing your financial status is an open invitation for relentless pressure, silent judgment, toxic comparisons, and the sudden, suffocating expectations of relatives who suddenly remember your name. Let us strip away the academic jargon and the Wall Street nonsense. The ultimate formula for unbreakable financial power comes down to 3 deeply unsexy words: privacy, automation, and consistency. Privacy builds an impenetrable wall between your money and the world's expectations. Automation removes your own flawed, emotional brain from the driver's seat. Consistency lets the terrifying mathematical power of compound interest do the heavy lifting over decades. This is not a polite financial guide. This is a survival manual for the ordinary person who is tired of looking rich while secretly drowning. Let us break down the 12 brutal realities of invisible wealth. Completely reimagine for the reality of your daily life. The devastating illusion of the immediate upgrade. Imagine it is a Tuesday afternoon. Your boss calls you into the office and hands you a promotion. You are getting a substantial raise. Your heart races. On the drive home, your brain is already spending it. You are visualizing a better apartment, a newer car, premium steaks instead of chicken. This is the exact moment the trap snaps shut on your ankle. The single most powerful move you can make, a move that separates the truly wealthy from the forever struggling, is to freeze your lifestyle the moment your income spikes. Do absolutely nothing for 12 consecutive months. When you instantly upgrade your life, you are trading a massive, life-altering snowball of future wealth for a brief dopamine hit of present comfort. Think about a graphic designer who gets a $10,000 bump. If she immediately moves into a luxury loft, that money vanishes into a landlord's pocket. If she lives exactly as she did yesterday, funneling that invisible surplus into investments, she is buying years off her mandatory retirement age. The math is ruthless. Delaying an ego-driven lifestyle upgrade is the ultimate act of self-preservation. The lethal danger of the specific number. Never under any circumstances reveal your exact numbers to anyone outside your immediate household. The moment a specific salary, a bonus amount, or an investment return leaves your lips, a psychological ledger opens in the listener's mind. It happens instantly and subconsciously. If you tell a friend you just made an extra $20,000, they look at you differently. Suddenly, they are calculating what you should be able to afford. When the dinner bill arrives, the silence stretches, waiting for you to pick it up. When a sibling has a temporary cash flow problem, you become the primary target because, in their head, you have a surplus that you aren't really using. Your financial reality becomes public property. You strip away your own autonomy by giving others the data they need to judge your choices. Keep your numbers buried deep in the dark. The surrender of your willpower. You are weak. I am weak. Human beings are biologically wired to consume the resources in front of them right now. Relying on your own willpower to manually transfer money into a savings account at the end of the month is a fool's errand. You will suffer from decision fatigue. You will have a bad day at work. You will convince yourself you deserve a treat. And the money will evaporate. The invisible wealth strategy demands you automate your investments before you ever see the money. Think of a middle school teacher who has $50 automatically ripped out of her checking account every single Friday and hurled into an index fund. She doesn't have to choose to be disciplined. She doesn't even know her login password for the brokerage account. Automation is the act of treating your future self like a mandatory tax collector. You don't negotiate with it. It just happens in the background, quietly building an empire while you are busy living your life. The tragedy of this status vehicle. Let us talk about the ultimate wealth incinerator, your car. Here is where we look at the lifelong war between two types of people, poor Peter and rich Richard. Poor Peter views car as a wearable extension of his ego. He leases a brand new German luxury sedan. He loves the smell, the badge, the way people look at him at stoplights. He is bleeding hundreds of dollars a month in payments, premium insurance, and maintenance, all for an asset that is aggressively plummeting in value. Rich Richard drives a fundamentally boring 8-year-old Honda. He doesn't have a car payment. Over a decade, Richard takes the monthly equivalent of Peter's car payment and quietly buys assets. 10 years later, Peter has nothing to show for it but a string of traded-in cars and endless debt. Richard has a vehicle that still gets him from point A to point B, plus a portfolio that has swollen by over $50,000. Driving a reliable, aggressively boring car is the ultimate camouflage. It signals to the world that there is nothing to see here, while your actual net worth explodes in secret. Building the invisible fortress. True financial security does not come from a single highly visible paycheck. It comes from constructing income streams that nobody knows exist. Your day job is your public face. Your invisible wealth is the dividend payout hitting your account on a Tuesday morning. It is the rental income flowing through a separate bank account so your daily spending is unaffected. It is the freelance consulting you do quietly on the weekends. This is about decoupling your identity from your cash flow. If your boss fires you, or your industry collapses, the public might think you are ruined, but the invisible fortress holds. The privacy of these income streams is exactly what gives them their power. You are never dependent on the approval or the knowledge of a single entity. The suffocating walls of the maximum mortgage. The banking system is designed to stretch you to your absolute breaking point. When a lender tells you what you can afford, they are telling you the maximum amount of blood they can extract from you without you defaulting. Living below the absolute ceiling of your housing budget is a hill you must be willing to die on. Imagine you qualify for a mortgage of $3,000 a month, but you choose a home that costs $2,000. That gap, that boring, unglamorous gap of $1,000 is your freedom fund. Over 20 years, if invested, that gap turns into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Poor Peter buys the maximum house to host parties and impress neighbors he secretly hates. He is house poor, terrified of a broken water heater, one missed paycheck away from catastrophe. Rich Richard buys a house that is smaller, older, but perfectly functional. The psychological peace of knowing your housing costs are a fraction of your capacity is a drug better than any luxury amenity. The art of the financial decay. If you completely refuse to talk about money, people get suspicious. They either think you are totally broke or secretly a millionaire. Both invite unwanted attention. The master stroke of invisible wealth is selective transparency. You become a master of it. Decay. You talk passionately about financial philosophies, budgeting strategies, and the mechanics of compound interest. You complain about the rising price of groceries just like everyone else. You enthusiastically share a tip on how to save on airline tickets. You project the image of someone who is careful and responsible, completely satisfying the curiosity of your peers. But you never, ever drop a specific number. You give them the wrapping paper and keep the box empty. It is a brilliant psychological maneuver that allows you to participate in social bonding without exposing a single vulnerability. The digital leash of social media. Your smartphone is a weapon pointed directly at your bank account. Every time you post a picture of a vacation resort, a new handbag, or a celebratory champagne toast, you are feeding a vicious algorithm of expectations. You are creating data points for your social circle. The pressure attacks from two sides. First, internally, you now have a digital avatar of success that you must financially maintain, or risk looking like a failure. Second, externally, others form a concrete expectation of your lifestyle. Delete the bragging, start the ego. A truly wealthy person does not need the digital validation of a high school acquaintance they haven't seen in 10 years. When you stop performing for the internet, a massive, silent weight is lifted off your shoulders. You stop buying things for the photograph and start buying things for your actual life. The silent hemorrhage of subscriptions. It feels like nothing. $10 here, $15 there. But the modern economy is entirely built on extracting small, invisible drops of blood from you while you sleep. You must become a ruthless auditor of your own accounts. A seemingly harmless $500 a month bleeding out to forgotten streaming services, unused gym memberships, and premium app features is a catastrophic wealth destroyer. If you took that $500, invested it over 20 years at an average 8% return, you are looking at nearly $300,000. You are literally trading $250,000 for the privilege of a premium music account you barely use. Cut it without mercy. The unbearable weight of a known safety net. This is perhaps the most dramatic, heartbreaking reality of money and relationships. You must guard the existence of your emergency fund like it is highly classified state secrets. If you do the right thing, if you scrape and sacrifice to build a buffer of 6 months of living expenses, and you tell your family, you have made a fatal error. Human nature is tragically predictable. The moment your family or friends know you have a cushion, they stop viewing it as your emergency fund. They start viewing it as their emergency fund. When your cousin gets a flat tire, or your sibling overdraws their account, they will not feel the urgent pressure to fix their own lives, because they know you have cash sitting there doing nothing. If you say no, you become the villain. You become the greedy monster who let them suffer while hoarding wealth. The only way to survive this dynamic without destroying your relationships is to ensure they never know the money exists in the first place. You cannot be asked for what they do not know you have. The ultimate invisible shield. As you transition from simply surviving to actually building wealth, you must separate your personal identity from your assets. This is where legal architecture comes into play. If you own an investment property, don't put it in your personal name. Let a limited liability company LLC with a boring, unidentifiable name hold the deed. If someone looks up the public tax records, they don't see you. They see a corporate entity. This isn't just about liability protection, it is about absolute privacy. The ordinary person thinks LLCs are just for billionaires in movies. They are actually just standard structural tools that draw a curtain over your financial life. Naturally, the exact mechanics require a conversation with a qualified professional, but the concept remains. Disconnect your ego from your assets on paper. The timeline of true prosperity. We return to the final showdown between poor Peter and rich Richard to understand the pacing of wealth. Poor Peter buys everything at once. In the same year, he finances a new car, takes out a massive mortgage, and puts a luxury vacation on a credit card. His timeline is compressed, entirely focused on the present moment, leaving him suffocated by simultaneous debts. Rich Richard spaces it out. He bought a used car in 2015. He didn't change his apartment until 2018. He didn't replace that old car until 2022. By 2005, his investment portfolio is massive because his capital was never fully drained at any single point in time. He staggers his major financial balls, allowing his wealth to recover, compound, and grow in the quiet spaces between purchases. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the cold, objective mechanics of how modern society strips you of your wealth, and exactly how you stop it. The path of invisible wealth is lonely. It requires you to absorb the societal pressure of working average while secretly building an empire. It demands that you let go of the cheap, fleeting validation of impressing strangers. But the reward is absolute, unshakable freedom. While the guy in the gym mirror is desperately checking his legs, and poor Peter is having a panic attack over an unexpected medical bill, you will be sleeping soundly. You will know that behind the faded hoodie, the boring car, and the quiet demeanor, you have built an unbreakable fortress. No audience required.